Well, good afternoon to everybody that's watching. Never know how many people are going to pile in, but it's always good to do a live stream any time of the day. So anyone that's watching, you're more than welcome. I want to talk about this story. I'm going to share screen in a minute so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But the question on the thumbnail was: is the UK now under Islamic blasphemy law? Or I didn't use that. I said, is this the new UK blasphemy law? And I think that's a very, very relevant and pertinent question, because when you see this story and you see what's happened, it's really the only conclusion that you can come to. And I wonder, and I do ask myself, would this have happened if it was a New Testament, if it was whatever the Buddhist holy book is, if it was a copy of the Torah? Well, who knows? And this is the question that we've got to ask. Now, I'm going to say from the get-go, I don't like burning books. I've got copies of the Quran. Because I have an interest in Islam, because I oppose Islam, because I believe it's a heresy of Christianity, and it's a heresy of an Abrahamic religion. So I oppose it, and I want to know what's in it. I've never burnt one. I don't think I ever would burn one. But the question is, does somebody have the right? And this is, let me know in the comments, guys. Does somebody in the UK in the 21st century have the right, and should they have the right, to burn a religious text? Let's have a look at the story and see what this Turkish gentleman did. And remember, the guy that did this was not a skinhead with a Union Jack t-shirt on and a Harrington jacket. Okay, we're not in the 1980s. This was Armenian Kurdish man, apparently an atheist, could be from a Muslim background, could be from a Christian background, who knows, in that melting pot of an area up there. Let's have a look at the story and see what happened and what was said in court. So, headline: man who burned Quran outside Turkish consulate in London guilty of religiously aggravated public order offence. Hamit Koskan, 50, held the flaming Islamic text aloft before being attacked by a passerby. That's very interesting, because in modern London, why would a passerby attack someone that's burning a book outside an embassy? Why would they get involved? And if I remember the case rightly, I think the guy that attacked him possibly had a knife, but we'll find out as we read the story. The burning of a Quran outside the Turkish consulate in London amounted to a religiously aggravated public order offence. That's what the judges found. So the judges applied the law to this man. Now, if we remember what happened to the I think he was an Iraqi gentleman in Sweden that went out, I think it was Sweden, went out and burned Qurans on a regular basis. There's a friend of mine in America that also burns Qurans. Again, it's not my thing. I have no interest in burning Qurans. I don't like Islam because I don't think it's the truth. But I'm not going to go around burning books, because again, I think books are a precious thing. No matter what the contents are, I think you should read them rather than read them and argue against them rather than burn them. Goes on. Hamit Koskan, 50, shouted, "F Islam! Islam is the religion of terrorism, and Quran is burning. Islam is religion of terrorism, and Quran is burning." That's what this guy shouted as he held the flaming Islamic text aloft in Rutland Gardens, Knightsbridge, on the 13th of February this year. So the judge goes on to say, Koskin was found guilty of a religiously aggravated public order offence of using disorderly behaviour within the hearing or sight of a person likely to be caused harassment, alarm, or distress. Now, this is where this gets Orwellian, and this is where this gets very, very dangerous. So if I'm making a video today and I'm saying I'm not a fan of Islam, I think it's a fake religion, I'm exercising my freedom of speech and my freedom of religion to say that. If somebody was standing next to me that was offended by that, would they be able to drag me before the courts? Would they be able to say, oh, this guy's committing an offense because I'm offended and I'm distressed by what he said? You know, if we say that we don't think it's a good idea for a 53-year-old man, or whatever he was, to marry a 6-year-old girl, and this is what it says in their books, in their scripture, and then consummate the marriage, if you can use the word consummate. I'm using my terms very carefully because of the platforms that we're streaming to. When the child was 9 years old, and that's in the Islamic scriptures, that's in Islamic doctrine. So I'm not saying anything that is untrue or isn't there or isn't believed by the vast majority of Muslims. So I find that beyond the pale, and I find that extremely problematic. And obviously, this gentleman, who was an atheist, who'd obviously come from Kurdistan or Armenia, and he knew about the Armenian genocide at the beginning of the 20th century. He knew what Erdogan was doing. He knew that Erdogan is pushing an Islamist agenda right the way throughout the Middle East, Syria. He's, I believe, Erdogan's involved in Libya now. So this is going on, and this is very, very relevant. And what this man's arguing is that the reason for that is what's in the Islamic scriptures, what's in the Quran, what's in the Hadith, and so on and so forth. So this is what the judge says: your actions in burning the Quran, where you did. Well, okay, your actions in burning the Quran where you did were highly provocative, and your actions were accompanied by bad language, in some cases directed toward the religion, and were motivated, at least in part, by hatred of followers of the religion. Now, if we look at what the man said, he says, F Islam. He says, Islam is a religion of terrorism. Quran is burning. Now, it doesn't report anything else that he said. So it doesn't report that he was attacking the people that follow that religion. He was critiquing that religion. He might have been doing it in a way that I wouldn't do it or you wouldn't do it. But what he was doing was critiquing the religion. So he's fined £240 with a statutory surcharge of £96. So he's found guilty. Now, here's the thing about this. This guy's fined, okay? If they could spice the charges up a little bit, could he get a prison sentence? Could they actually get him locked up even for a month or 2 months or 3 months or whatever it is? That's the question we've got to ask. What if it was conflated to a harassment charge and then a religiously aggravated harassment charge? Then we're talking some serious time in prison. This guy that did this, he was born in Turkey, so he's not British. It's not a British man doing this. He's a Turk. He's half Kurdish, half Armenian. And it says he traveled from his home in the Midlands and set fire to the Quran at around 2 p.m. So the question is, do we now have a blasphemy law in the UK? I mean, I could read through the rest of it, but I think that actually we will read a little bit more because the rest of it's relevant. So as we read down, we find out in footage captured on a mobile phone by a passerby that was shown to the court, a man approached and asked Koskan why he was burning a copy of the religious text. Koskan can be heard making reference to terrorist, and the man called the defendant an effing idiot. Okay, the man approached him, allegedly holding a knife or bladed article, and appeared to slash out at him. So this guy's burning a Quran, okay, which, as far as I know, there is no, well, of course, now it appears there is a law against burning the Quran. But as far as I knew, it wasn't illegal to burn a Quran. So he's burning a Quran, and yet the guy that attacks him with a knife, so it says the man approached him, allegedly holding a knife or a bladed article, and appeared to slash out at him. So this guy tries to stab him, which I think pretty much sounds like attempted murder. This guy tries to stab the guy burning the Quran, and yet, as far as I know, the guy that had the knife hasn't been arrested, hasn't been charged with anything. No, the only guy that's been charged is the guy that is standing there burning the Quran. The man chased Koskin, and the defendant stumbled forward and fell to the ground, dropping the Quran, the footage showed. Koskin was spat at, that's assault. Kicked by the man, that's assault. The man said, burning the Quran, it's my religion, you don't burn the Quran. Koskin had posted on social media that he was protesting against the Islamist government of Turkish President Erdogan, who the defendant allegedly said has made Turkey a base for radical Islamists and is trying to establish a Sharia regime. Well, from what I know of Turkey and from what I know of current events and current affairs in the Middle East, that seems to be pretty accurate. In fact, very accurate. The defendant, who's an atheist, believes that he protested peacefully and burning the Quran amounted to freedom of expression, the court heard. His fees are being paid for by the Free Speech Union and the National Secular Society. So what do we think about this? What do we think? Was he justified in doing what he was doing? Just let me know in the comments what you think about this. I'm going to look at some of these comments here. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Now, I haven't seen people burning the Bible. They probably do it. I haven't seen it. I must admit, I would be massively offended if somebody burnt the Bible. I would find that I would have a problem with that. And if I saw someone burning a Bible, I'd probably go and intervene and try and stop them burning the Bible. Maybe. I don't know. So I'm not saying that it's okay to burn people's religious books. But this is the thing. It's the double standard again. So this guy's burning a book, right? Which I consider to be just, it's not a holy book. It's not scripture. It's, in my opinion, false, fake religion, right? Let's have a look. Hey, Richard, if it was any other book, yeah, exactly. That's exactly right, Kelly. If it was any other book, they would be getting, go straight to the top of the class, right? So look, we should have the right, although, yeah, exactly right. I think that's the key here. People should have the right to do it. I wouldn't like to think of someone burning the Bible, right? I wouldn't like to think it, because to me, the Bible's precious. It's the word of God. It's true. So I wouldn't be happy with that, right? But at the same time, if somebody did it, would I want them to be dragged through the courts for doing it? No. I would go and argue with them why it was a bad idea to do it. It doesn't make any sense. Very pleased and relieved to see you back on with Put. Yeah, Jane, do you know what? I've been doing a lot of stuff. I've been doing a lot of streams on my new channel called Counter Media. And please, guys, please go to Counter Media and subscribe to the channel. Obviously, it's on YouTube. Just go onto YouTube, type in Counter Media. You should find it straight away. But yeah, I mean, the reality is that burning a book should not be a criminal offense, no matter how distasteful we find it. And like everybody's saying in the comments, if it was any other book, would there be a problem with it? I mean, Mein Kampf's a vile book. I wouldn't burn it. The Communist Manifesto is a vile book. I wouldn't burn it. There's loads of books out there that are absolutely horrendous. Some of them just aren't reading, so maybe they do need burned. But the problem is with this is it is the first stage in imposing a blasphemy law on the United Kingdom. If you own the book, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly right. That's a very good point. If you own the book, you've got a right to do with it whatever you want. I think that's absolutely true. Scary times. Soon will be the Islamophobia, hate speech laws to add to it. I think that's going to happen. And I think those of us who, and I believe quite rightly so, are critiquing Islam and not attacking Muslims, and everyone know that when we're talking about Islam, we don't attack Muslim people. We're talking about the ideology and the doctrines and whether it's true or whether it's not true. And again, atheists don't believe Christianity. This guy's is an atheist. I mean, no doubt he'd probably do the same to the Bible. He doesn't believe the Bible's true either. I do believe the Bible's true. I'd rather, if we're going to burn any book, burn Richard Dawkins' The God Delusion, But the truth of the matter is that this, to me, is these Islamophobia, hate speech laws. It's a soft way into them. One bloke got off scooter. Yeah, that was it. I mean, again, I can't remember. There's that many of these things going on. But as far as I knew, there was a guy attacked him, tried to stab him, got on the floor, spat on him, and kicked him. That's what it says in the story, and that's pretty much what was shown in the video. It belongs to you and it doesn't harm anyone. Yeah, exactly. I agree. I agree 100%. Yes, we should be allowed. Did the man from the embassy? No, as far as I know, he wasn't even charged. I don't think that guy was even arrested. And that's the scary thing about this. That is the scary thing. Bibles always gets ripped up in Speaker's Corner and nothing is ever done. Yep, exactly. Exactly. And again, as much as I find it offensive and I find it something really disgusting to desecrate a Bible, I don't think it should be a criminal offense because yes, it's a waste of a perfectly good Bible, which somebody could read, and you'd be far more profitable reading it than ripping it up. I mean, I remember mates of mine that were in prison during the Troubles would tell me they used to, roll cigarettes using pages from the Bible. And there was one guy years ago I heard speaking in a church, and I think he kind of got halfway through the New Testament and then read something before he rolled his cigarette and then realized that the Bible was true and he became a Christian. But again, not an ideal use of the Bible, using it to roll cigarettes, but it's not and shouldn't be an offense that somebody's dragged through the courts from. This was deliberately done to bring blasphemy laws. Yeah, exactly right. That's what I think. That's exactly what I think. Well, do you know what? I haven't got anyone moderating on this, and I haven't got anyone delete, and I don't have time to delete comments, so I don't know why your message disappeared unless it was grossly offensive. Got to be careful with these grossly offensive messages. Okay. Hello, I've caught your live stream today. Oh yes, by the way, guys, I'm going live tonight at 8 p.m. with David Vance. So by all means, tune into that. It's going to be interesting to see how the Americans react to this, because obviously the Americans, we're on the radar. When I say we, the British, and not us, the absolute vile reprobates that that basically control us, and they do control us because we can't, on this platform, we can't speak freely. On Facebook, you can't speak freely. Twitter, yeah, Twitter's okay. You can say, I know some of you are watching this on Twitter, you can pretty much say what you want. But the reality is we don't have free speech. And I've said this before, and this is something that I think there needs to be actually pushed back to the Americans on this, because the major platforms, Google, Meta, it's really just Google and Meta, isn't it? The other option is Twitter or X. Those major platforms do not allow complete free speech. They have community guidelines. Now, some of the community guidelines are obviously a good idea, but ones that are affecting free speech, especially when it comes to the likes of freedom of religion, etc., they're not a good idea. And I think when you think about what's just happened in Colorado, where obviously an Islamist terrorist has just attacked, I don't know whether they were Jewish people or not, but just attacked people and basically try to set them on fire. Again, I'm not exactly sure what happened there. There was talk of a terrorist attack in Ireland yesterday. There's all sorts of stuff going on, and it all seems to be swirling around the Israel-Gaza conflict. And you think about those two young people, and I believe they're actually Christians. They were Messianic Jews. They were Jewish Christians. Were shot dead in Washington D.C. What, 2 weeks ago? Less than 2 weeks ago. And this is what we're dealing with in the UK, and it's very worrying. Yeah, absolutely. Christianity is the enemy in the communist. What we're fighting against. We're fighting against two equally evil forces. We're fighting against Islamists, which are basically Muslim Brotherhood, Jamaati Islami, extremists who are wanting to take over our country. And I must say fighting, I'm not talking about physically fighting, it's fighting ideologically, fighting in the battle of ideas and the battle of free speech. And we're fighting against communists and these crazy woke progressives. And at the heart of it, and I keep coming back to it, and I know people are going to think, Richard, you're like a broken record, will you give over? But at the heart of it, the battle is between Christianity and fake religion. It's really as simple as that. Whether it's the woke ideology, which is becoming like a religion, or whether it's the Islamists who want to enforce their political will on the country. And of course, again, the problem that we've got is the wider that we open the borders, the more problems are going to come in. It's as simple as that. If we've got people coming from Somalia, coming from Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya, on and on it goes, and they don't share our ideals and they don't share our morality, it can only go one way. And, you know, people talk about multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is a very bad idea. What I want is integrationism, where people come together and mix together and get on together and try to build the United Kingdom up as a strong, prosperous, peaceful country. That's not multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is people living in these little silos. So you have your Muslim community, you have your African community, you have your Jewish community, and never the twain will meet. They never meet together. And then here you have your white English community. Whereas when I was growing up, the plan was that, or I thought the plan was, that everybody mixed together, everyone got on together, and we all shared our common identity of Britishness. And when I was in the military and served with black lads, there was lads from Somalia, there was lads from the West Indies. We were all the same. We all liked going out for a beer, having a laugh, you know, watching football, all the stuff that normal people do. But now that seems to have changed to a great extent, and people are identifying with their own racial background rather than identifying with the nation state. And that's what civic nationalism is. You identify with the nation state and you buy into the culture of that nation state. And the culture in this country, whether people like it or not, is predominantly Christian. And that's where all our values have come from. That's where our cultures come from. And again, like I keep saying, that's why we need to very seriously take a look at getting back to that and understanding why that's our culture. And has it been a good thing or has it been a bad thing? Obviously, I'm biased. I'm convinced that the Christian culture of the UK has been a good thing, but you might have a completely different idea to that. And you might not agree with me on civic nationalism either. Let me know in the comments, because that's what this is about. It's about understanding where everybody's coming from. Turkey is a bad country apart from being an Islamic Sharia country. They're slaughtering animals. Well, yeah, I mean, you know, there's a lot of problems in these places where the ideology and the religion is completely different to ours. No blasphemy laws in the UK, no Sharia. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. We don't want blasphemy laws. We don't want Sharia law. And if we did have blasphemy laws, I'd prefer that they were protecting Christianity rather than protecting other religions. He's burnt a guy that tells people it's okay. Yeah, well, yeah, I get that. Okay. In the UK, you can mock and ridicule any religion except Islam. That's the Batley School too. Yeah, that's a very good point. That guy is still in hiding. After how long? He was driven from his job for what? For showing a cartoon of some guy that died 1400 years ago? I mean, this is England. This isn't England. This is the United Kingdom. We're meant to be a free country, and this is the problem. This is the problem we're seeing. You know, we've just seen Tommy come out of prison after, what was it, 7 months, and now he's facing court again on the 5th. By the way, if you are in London on the 5th of June, next Thursday, I think it's, you need to check this, make sure I'm getting this right, but I think it's Westminster Magistrates Court that he's appearing in on the 5th of June. As far as I know, last time I was in comms with him, he wants a crowd there. He wants people to go, because if they try and remand him, he wants a lot of very, very noisy, peaceful protesting outside the court, because it would be taking liberties to such a massive extent if they try to remand him on the 5th of June. But the way this two-tier key is working, and the way that the legal system seems to be being manipulated, anything's possible. And we know that they want him off the streets. That's why they keep exposing him to lawfare. And like Mark Stein always used to say, the process is the punishment. That's what it's all about. Put you under so much pressure, financial, family, whatever it is they compile on you, hoping that you'll break and you back down and you crack. Luckily, he's not made of that sort of stuff. And none of us are. We're not going to back down. We're not going to go away. As that evil man Jerry Adams famously said, we haven't gone away, you know. Well, we're not going to go away either. We're staying here for the long haul. We're going to fight this out. It's not about destroying a book. It's what the It's not about destroying it, it's about what the contents, the teachings, and revered deity of the book means to those who believe its content. I think you're agreeing with me there. I'm not sure. Just if you want to just clarify that. There we go. Blessings to you all from Ireland. Thanks very much for that. Really, really appreciate that. I'm guessing you're just down the road from me. But this is the thing. What we've been doing, just to whoever era first is, just to let you know, we've been going outside Belfast City Hall. We've done it once a month where we're having protests. They're getting bigger every single time. And we'll be standing there with Red Hand of Ulster Union flags and Irish tricolours together. And I think that's a fantastic thing. And I think we should keep doing that. And we should keep the flags there and not be bullied or intimidated into not having those flags. The thing is, we're a Christian country. These invaders should abide by our laws. I agree. 100%. Absolutely. Live by our laws or leave. That's what I said in 2018 in a speech I made, ended up on the BBC. Live by our laws or leave. Truth and falsehood, what's good and what's evil. They are bringing yogis and such, which isn't Christian. Yep. Multiculturalism has never ever worked. No, it hasn't. It's never worked and it can't work, especially when one of the cultures is very aggressive, very supremacist, and wants to dominate every other culture. And of course, I'm not talking about Christianity when I'm talking about that. How do we say, folks, that voting for Undecca party that has a Muslim in a key position? Guys, this is Annie H. I'm glad you said that because I've been banging that drum for a long time. I've been getting no thanks for it. I've been getting loads of grief for it. And I think the truth is that sooner or later, we're going to realize that the emperor has no clothes. We're going to, like I say, and I know it's a bit crude, but I'm going to say it, there's something about reform which is very much all fur coat and no knickers. They're really good on all the razzmatazz. They're really good on all the showmanship, but there's no substance to any of it. And I'm hoping that Ben Habib, Rupert Lowe, UKIP, SDP, maybe some of the good people in the Conservative Party, because I believe there are a few good people, and they're not many, but I believe there's a couple, will get together and form a coalition that will challenge what Farage is up to, because I don't believe Farage is the real deal. That's my problem. When a lot of people attack me for attacking Farage, and I'm not attacking him personally. I don't know anything about his personal life. I don't care. My issue is they seem very, very thin on policy, and anybody that's a dissident or stands up to Farage and says, I don't think you're doing this quite right, is just expelled from the party, ridiculed, demonized. And in the case of Rupert Lowe, as Rupert claims that they tried to get him imprisoned. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what Rupert Lowe's saying, that they tried to actually get him imprisoned, which I suppose a threat to kill. You could be in prison for that. Absolutely scandalous, disgusting behavior. And Mohammed Zia Yusuf, I mean, what's his purpose in the party apart from being a hatchet man and getting rid of good people? Okay. The Quran is more of an instructional manual than a religious book like the Bible, in my opinion. Yeah, it does seem to be very sort of legalistic. Okay. It's also where humane civilization comes from. Are you talking about Ireland there, or are you talking about England? Blair put immigration by 10 times. We were never exactly. This is the whole point. None of us were ever asked about this, and that's what people used to say. That used to be the byword. Now, I heard somewhere that the EU is looking to make it illegal for people to criticize immigration policy. That's going to be their next one, and this is where we need Google, we need Facebook. I've got a well, there's a group on Facebook for my local community, and it got the account suspended today. Now, it was reinstated pretty much straight away, but it seems to have been suspended for playing a film with Tommy Robinson in it. Incredible, absolutely unbelievable. And of course, now that they've managed to try and drag him into court on terrorism charges, or they will be dragging him to court on terrorism charges, no doubt, at some stage in the future, then if they get a conviction there, then they'll be able to use that as a stick to beat him off social media platforms and ban him from America, etc., etc., etc. So again, this is all stuff that needs to be resisted. Hello, John Capone. Good to see you, man. Okay, it's Westminster Magistrates this Thursday. There you go. Westminster Magistrates this Thursday. I'm not sure if there's a time out there for this, but Westminster Magistrates, okay? It's okay to, yeah. Or Israeli flags. I mean, they're burning Israeli flags, they burn American flags. It's okay to do any of that here. But if you burn that book, you're in trouble. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, I love that. Paul used to say that when we used to do the live streams with Paul. And again, we got back to one last night. It was great. It's just like, it's like we hadn't stopped doing them. We did a live stream last night, went really, really well. There was a bit of banter. It was good crack. And Paul used to say that he doesn't care what color you are. It's what's in your heart, whether you're red, white, and blue in the heart, or as you say, if you're English, 3 lines in the heart. Okay, influential people like rabbis claim we are a secular society and no longer Christian. Well, I think there's a bit of truth in that. North and South unite against it. Yep, absolutely. Best Black, 100%. Let's get united against the tyranny. Mary, I was at every anti-lockdown protest in Belfast, and we had I mean, that's what you need. People need to be taken to the streets, and they need to be coming together. The first time I ever saw tricolours and Northern Irish flags together was when there was the Free Tommy demos in, when was it? 2018 in Belfast. It's the first time I ever saw it. Well, yeah, I mean, the reality is at the minute, UKIP's the only option. It's simple as that. Okay. Farage a comedian. What's your thought? Yeah, well, this guy, this Scottish YouTuber called Craig, as far as I know, all he did was quoted somebody who'd said something. And again, I don't know the full details of the case, but he seemed to have quoted something that somebody said, and that's why he's been dragged through the courts, which just seems incredible. Living in Wigan, we did not vote for them, so the Islamification is ongoing. HMOs, Pakistani. You see, this is the problem as well. The HMOs are a massive problem because there's a lot of the people that were involved in the grooming scandal. When we did the films, when we made the films in Telford, we found out that a lot of those people that were involved in that scandal, they had HMOs. Now, we just didn't have the resources to go and look at the HMOs. But think about this. A lot of those HMOs, they have migrants living in them. And what's one of the girls that was, I'm not going to say her name, but one of the girls that was in one of the episodes of Rape of Britain said that the young girls were getting put into HMOs with what they call freshie migrants. So in other words, migrants that were just off the boat. And what she said was the most brutal of these men were the freshie migrants. Now, obviously, girls that are getting put into HMOs, they're probably over 16, because obviously until you're 16, you're under the care of the state. Once they're 16, they're pretty much on their own, but they're still children. And again, this woman who's probably now in her late 30s, she was abused and trafficked and sexually assaulted right the way through her teens and her 20s. So it didn't just stop when she reached 16 and they didn't go, oh, you're 16, we're not going to bother you anymore. They carried on trafficking her and abusing her, beating her, doing the most vile things to her. And, when you talk to those very, very brave young women that went through that, you realize that there is something extremely sinister. These gangs are sadistic in the extreme. And they're the ones that are, a lot of these people are owning the HMOs. And what people got to understand, in the UK, there is a Pakistani Muslim mafia, without a shadow of doubt, runs up and down the spine of the country. They're into, obviously, trafficking children for sex, drug dealing, heroin dealing, cocaine dealing now, money laundering, um, people trafficking, immigration fraud, election fraud. It's real. This is a real thing, and we uncovered so much that we haven't talked about when we made those films. But again, it's about resources. It's about having the resource. And again, you can't talk about anything, and you can't name names. And there was very prominent solicitors who are now very high profile, let's just say, from Birmingham, who were massively on our radar. And if you've been watching the news and you've seen certain names mentioned and certain people becoming very, very vocal, well, those were some of the people that we were looking at, and they were involved in the legal profession. I'm not going to say any more than that. I'm not going to name them because I'm not going to put my neck in that noose. But that's the reality, and I've said enough, I think, on that. The Crown makes a great okay. Starmer has taken away free speech from the British people. Not just Starmer. You see, we all blame Starmer, but the truth of the matter is, Starmer didn't start this. The Conservative Party did just as much to attack freedom of speech. The internet harms legislation that's been used as a battering ram against people now was instituted by the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party were looking, there's people in the Conservative Party involved in this all-party parliamentary group on Islamophobia. Very, very prominent members of the Conservative Party. So it's not just Labour. Labour are bad, but all of these parties are bad. And I think Reform's bad as well. I think Reform is actually part of the Uni Party. I think it's fooling a lot of people. I could be wrong on that. And if I'm proved wrong, if they win the next election and I'm proved wrong, I hope I'm proved wrong. I hope they do something that I'm not expecting them to do, but I don't think I will be. I think we're going to be very disappointed with them. And that's why we need an alternative. Even if the alternative doesn't get voted in, whether it's UKIP, whether it's SDP, whether it's what Ben and people around Ben are doing, there needs to be a very viable alternative to Reform, where people on the right can say, actually, we're going to get behind this party unless you do this and this. And again, that's where the pledge comes in as well. The pledge is vitally important for that too. Richard, do you believe all these leaks coming here for the rest of Europe is part of a big plan to take it? I do, Jane. I think that's happening. I think that is happening. I think what's happened is I think we've got to a critical mass, and the state has said we can't deal with this, we can't fight against this, we just have to surrender to it. And Farage pretty much said that on his podcast. I think it was with Winston Marshall. He pretty much said that we can't fight against it. It's going to take over anyway, so we might as well just relax and let them get us all paying the jizya. You know, Red Cross and charities in the hotels putting a complaint in February about the treatment in hotels of women and girls. Yep, it probably won't be the British who get a £450 payout yet. Yeah, this is good. Look, we need to get loads of people on counter media. Now, again, I don't know how long, counter media appears to be monetized at the minute. Okay. I don't know how long that's going to be the case. I don't know if I'm going to get any money out of counter media. Because obviously the problem that we've got when we're doing YouTube channels, this takes a lot of time to research, to think about what we're going to say, to set up the live streams, and then to do the live streams themselves. I mean, I think the last week, I think I probably did 12 at least hours of live streaming last week. I did 6 hours on Tuesday, so it's probably way more than that. Now, at the minute, it looks like counter media is monetized. There's ads running in it. We'll see what happens. Again, I'm not holding my breath, but please subscribe to it, because the bigger we build the channel, if we get that channel up to, and it is monetized, we get up to 100,000 or a couple of 100,000 subs, then it means I can do a lot more with the income that's coming in. I can spend more time doing it. I can do a lot more research. I can get better equipment to give you guys a better quality of, better experience when you're watching the channels. So yeah, please subscribe to Counter Media. It's not going to cost you anything to subscribe to Counter Media. Just go across to the YouTube channel, subscribe, and we'll see how big we can build that channel up. British Pakistani depiction of grooming gangs no suggests that they were born here. The photo suggests they're in the 40s and 50s, so probably born in Pakistan. Well, I think it's a bit of both. I think some were born here, some weren't, and I think that's always going to be the case. There's freshies and there's people that were born here that are involved in it as well. I think there's a mix. That's awful and boring. Yeah. If only people, if only the people that follow your normal channel would. Yeah, Sheila, that's right. I mean, I want people to follow both. I don't want people to unsubscribe from the Richard Inman channel and subscribe to Counter Media. I want them to do both because, again, like, no, actually, yesterday's wasn't inspired by pride. I didn't get to the punchline on that. Yesterday's background was to do with a covenant that God made with Noah after the flood, where he said, I'm not going to flood the ground anymore. And he gave the sign of the rainbow to prove that he wasn't going to flood the ground anymore. And that was the punchline, but I never got to drop the punchline on Paul's channel. He'd probably, yeah. So anyway, there we go. Hi, Richard. Can you believe what's going on in this country at 20? No, and that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm spending time doing this, because when I see something like that, when that news came out, I wasn't going to do a live stream today. When that news came out about this man, I'm not going to, obviously his name's out there in the public domain. I'm not going to put his neck in the noose by naming him again. I did have his name on the thumbnail, but I took it off. That man is now going to be in real danger because of this, because people are going to come after him. The radicals will come after him, and that should not be happening. That should not be happening. It's Counter Media. You were unsubscribed. That's worrying. That's really worrying. I mean, this is what seems to happen with these social media companies, that they can shadow ban us, and we don't even know they're shadow banning us. And it's a big problem. Thanks for that, Claire. Really, really appreciate that. Yeah, guys, let's build Counter Media up anyway, right? Because if you reach a critical mass and we get up to a couple of 100,000 people, it makes a real difference. I think we're on about 4,000 with Counter Media. I think I'm on about 44,000 with Richard Inman, and about 20,000, just shy of 20,000. I think 19,500 on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. So all the platforms are building slowly, but if we could put that on steroids and get them building really quickly, it just means that we're gonna be able to do a lot more, and a lot more people are going to be able to see the content I'm doing. Now, if people don't want to see people doing my content, that's fine. But I think it's very, I want to do it from where I'm coming from. I want to do it from a patriotic, civic, nationalist, and Christian point of view. That's where I'm coming from. We'll subscribe to your channel. Thanks for that, Mags. Appreciate it. So, I mean, please subscribe to both. If you're not subscribed to either, subscribe to both. And there's probably another channel I'm going to do in a few months' time, but I'm going to keep quiet about that for now, because again, it's going to be slightly different, same sort of thing, but slightly different way of doing things that hasn't been done before. But I'll hold my water on that. No, they do hate Christianity. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Right, guys, I'm gonna dive off here. I just want to come on and talk about that, because I think it's a really bad thing that's been happening. And that guy Craig up in Scotland, that's been arrested for whatever he said on YouTube. I don't know what it is. I don't know the details of the case. I'm not going to comment on it because you can't. But I know for a fact he's the leader of the SDP in Scotland. So he's a political leader. So if that isn't a political deal going on there, I don't know what is, Richard, bless you for standing for Jesus, not being ashamed of the gospel. Ask for a hedge of protection around you and all that are standing for truth. God bless you. Jane, that is massively appreciated, because I think I've been through the worst year of my life this year. A lot of it's been my own fault, but there's been a lot of it hasn't been my own fault. And it's been extremely difficult, and I appreciate any prayer that I can get. And I'm convinced that the only way out of this is through the gospel. And I'm unashamed in saying that. And I'm talking very, very practically here, because if you're submitted to Christ and you're living in a way that is Christ-like, you're going to be able to build unity. You're going to be able to bring people together. Yes, the gospel divides, but we're not excluding people aren't Christians from our movement. But I think the more Christians are in leadership in this movement, and the more leaders become Christians, the better the outcome will be, because you're not as likely to react in ways that are not good when you're walking the walk in terms of Christianity. When you're not walking the walk, you have all sorts of problems, believe you me, right? No, I want to ban atheism, Martin. I'm going to ban all religions. That's just as authoritarian as people getting locked up for burning the Quran. And honestly, Martin, I think atheism is part of the problem. And I've said it, and it's not to insult atheists. I'm not against atheists. They're individuals that need to seek Christ. But I am against atheism because communism came out of atheism, fascism and Nazism came out of atheism, wokeism's come out of atheism. You know, Dawkins and his little acolytes have a lot to answer for. So, not going to ban all religion, not going to ban any religion. What we want is freedom of religion, because the cream always rises to the top. And as Jane says, Jesus can't be cancelled. Craig was me at tea repeating what the councillor. Yeah. That's what I heard. That's what I heard. It's great the SDP party went ahead with giving Craig. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Yes, Jesus was hated, and Jesus is still hated. You know, Jesus is still hated by people that don't trust him and don't believe in him. And that's, again, you know, these are controversial things, but I think I'm at the stage now where I'm not going to tickle people's ears. I think it's important. It's important that we promote the faith that made this country the great country that it is. Whether people believe it or not, what you can't dispute is that Christianity made Britain what it is. Whether that's good or bad is up to you to work out. I know for a fact it was good, but let's have a look. Stood outside the Turkish barbers smoking. Just be careful. Be careful. Yes, Trey, Christ is king. Guys, I'm going to shoot off here because I want to highlight that. And look, obviously that guy that did that was an atheist. And I absolutely support his right to do that, to burn that book. I totally support it as a Christian. And I don't necessarily agree with it, but I support it, if that makes sense. He should be allowed to do it without falling foul of the courts. Yeah, guys, really, really important. Thanks for that, Paula. We want to get Counter Media built up. Go across to Counter Media, subscribe. Let's get it up there. Let's get it up to 100,000 in short order. Like I say, I think we're on about 4,500, which is great because I've only really started pushing it for a month. I mean, I think we've had about 2,000 people signed up in the month. We got to about 2,000 when I was promoting it through Paul's channel, but it's coming on well. John, thanks for that. Richard, I'm subscribed to Richard on account media. Sometimes when you come on, I get Richard and other times come. That's fine. As long as you're getting both up there, John, that's brilliant. Right, what we're saying here. So, what's that one saying? Have a great day. Remember that that sets resonance. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it sets presence. If we're offended, I don't like playing that game. You know, I don't like playing the game. I don't like playing the lawfare game, but I get it. Jesus has a plan, Richard. Even when things look dark and unchanged, I absolutely, Lou, 100%. I believe that. I've seen it. I've seen so much going on. I'm not a political person, but at all. But ready. Sorry, reading between the lines. Scotland is under pressure. Everywhere is, John. Everywhere's under pressure, and it's coming here. And let's get it right. In Northern Ireland, Sinn Féin, if you remember, I don't know if you remember it, a few years ago, Pastor McConnell said stuff about Islam. Wasn't unreasonable what he said. It was very reasonable. And he was dragged through the courts, and it was the BBC were involved, the Belfast Telegraph, Sinn Féin, the Alliance Party, as far as I remember. The only one that stood with him then was the DUP and the TUV. They were the only ones that stood with Pastor McConnell. And he could have gone to prison. And he was an old man and his wife was suffering from dementia. And it ruined him in terms of his church. So it is extremely powerful, even in Northern Ireland. And again, I would love to know. Okay. That's fair enough. I get the message. You want me to wind up? Dan Wotton's coming on. I don't want to clash with Dan Wotton because he has got hundreds of thousands of subscribers. So his channel's way bigger than mine. So yes, I'll let you all go and watch Dan Wotton. And I'm on tonight at 8 o'clock with David Vance, and we'll be going to X, Facebook on David's channels, YouTube on my channels, and probably just both the YouTube channels. We'll probably not be doing X because I think I can only stream to 2 channels when I'm on with somebody else. But guys, thanks for watching. We've done nearly an hour there. See you tonight at 8 o'clock, and keep the faith. And as Mark Steinhoves used to say, stay safe and stay free. See you all soon. And before I go, Paul, mate, that's just flattery. Be very careful of people who flatter, right? No, thanks for that, Paul. I really appreciate it. Okay, guys, I'm going to go. See you all soon, and enjoy Dan Wotton, and I'll see you later on tonight. Oh, here, hold on a minute. I'll put those both up. Yeah. Okay, see you soon, guys.